Hello, welcome to Chick Chat and Chill. I am your co-host, Laura Fickett. I own Fickett Financial Education and Business Coaching, and I love to help people make more money, manage it better, and retain it to build their wealth. You may be thinking, how do you do that? Well, let's set up a free consultation because I would love to help you figure out maybe some small little changes that you can make or level up your education so that for the rest of your life you can work towards being wealthy and you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore, or I let the financial stress give you tummy problems, which it does for some people. I'm going to introduce you to our co-host, Antoinette, before we get into Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, which is our topic for today.
Hello. So I am Antoinette, the owner of Pixel This. And do you have a brand or company that you're like, is this really us? So that's where we can help. We really want to make sure that it's your values and your voice that show through your brand, and it's not something that you just think people want. You know, people connect with things that are authentic, and that's what we want to give you. So let's dive into our topic about not sweating the small stuff, which is, I think, so huge. So one of my favorite quotes that I think I saw was, I worked for this one client, and this one woman who I worked with all the time, she had this quote in her office that said, "Not my circus, not my monkeys."
Oh, I've heard that one a ton of times. Yeah.
But that is because I think a lot of people, when they start freaking out, a lot of times it's not even their stuff. It's other people's stuff, stuff that's going on in their company. And, like when I did all the designs for, Cadbury, people would freak out. I'm like, it's sugar water. Like, just calm down. Like, it's literally sugar water and you're spazzing out and losing sleep. I think that's what it is. People get so caught up in the weeds. So I think the first, I think tip or whatever is step back.
Oh my gosh. You know what though? A lot of the things that people complain about or the things that irritate them are the same things that irritated them yesterday and last week and last month and 10 years ago. And they just, they continue to talk about it. So it's kind of my pet peeve, of course. People aggravate me driving. I use some negative thoughts during driving. But realistically, I have no control over anybody else on the road. And, I'm never going to have any control. I did think about opening a driving studio where you would sponsor people. So you would take down their license plate number and you would pay. And I would call them and be like, listen, you just won a free driving instruction because you were such a jerk on such and such a road. Somebody sponsored you. Like, congratulations. Come on over and we will teach you how to use directionals.
But you don't like expletives, so that would work.
It's true. It's true. But even I think to myself, like, okay, well, how many times can I let these negative thoughts harm me? I have to start thinking more positive thoughts because I have no control over these people. And I think a lot of the things that people sweat or the small things, they don't, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, they just don't matter. They might not even matter a week from now. And it detracts from your life. So I was telling Antoinette that there's a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt that I couldn't for the life of me remember. And I'm probably going to botch it. So thankfully she's not alive anymore. Or is she alive anymore? There's no idea.
No.
But that's where my history problems come in. But it was great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. And I think a lot of the small stuff that people are sweating are about other people. Like, oh, my next door neighbor this, or, Susie that, or whatever. Well, God hates gossip. That's right there in the Bible. It's one of the things he really hates. So I guess I try not to sweat the small things. Big things like health problems, mechanical problems for your vehicle, like that. Okay. You got to try and figure those things out. But small things like my son broke a glass or spilled something, or I spilled something on my shirt as I'm going into a meeting. What am I going to do?
Yeah, for me, that's Tuesday. I'm sloppy. So. But I know with me, I always have these, or lately it seems I've had these big catastrophes that always happen in my life. People always say, write a book. But it's funny that I've had a couple people recently say, oh, well, you have this perfect life. Nothing ever goes wrong. And I'm like, what? Like, and I think it's because I'm not a complainer. So I'm like, okay, let's just go back here. Like, I've had like in my own personal immediate family, 3 relatives died in the last 3 years.
I know.
Like,
Close relatives.
yeah,
Like,
close, like 2 brothers, a father.
yeah.
Then I had my like my biggest major client in my design agency that, like huge multinational, whatever, been working them. All the people I was working with, they went through a department change and they fired like 80 people. So all the
Yeah.
people so that just went, that whole thing. So, like, not to go down this whole road, but I suffer the same things that everyone
Everybody,
else
right.
does, but I don't see the point of like worry. Like, my mom's a worrier, and I don't fathom, like, I can't comprehend why people do that. And it kind of goes back to, what's that motto for AA or whatever it is? It's like, it's, to me, that's like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like, God, give me the discernment to change the things
Things
that
like
I can, and to let the things go. I'm
the
messing
things
up
that
the,
I can't change.
yeah.
Accept the things that I can't change and
Yeah.
change the things that I can't accept.
Yeah, so that's something I've always done. Like, if it's in my power, I'm going to do everything I can to facilitate whatever outcome about this certain situation. But if it's not in my power, I have enough faith in God and life. I don't think life is inherently bad or terrible. I mean, there's things that happen, but I just kind of leave it up to God. And if something that happens in my mind terrible, or what I think is, there's always a silver lining to everything, and then I just make myself kind of look at the silver lining. So, for example, when my neighbor's tree fell on my house, which I think I mentioned before, but
Yeah.
the first thought that went in my head was, oh my God, I have less pine needles to clean up. So, I mean, I still had a tree coming out of the side of my house, but it was like, my first thought made me smile, and then it was like, oh, now I got to clean up this tree, and then let's get to work. At that point, it's done.
But I mean, that's a pretty big thing. So if people are stressing about a tree, if your tree fell on your house, I mean, that's a decent thing. But if a palm frond fell in your yard, maybe don't. The small things people get so aggravated about. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. Like, I was thinking in a relationship. So, your overarching goal is to stay with the person forever. If you married them, to stay
Yeah.
with them forever. And then you sweat like all these little things like, oh, well, he didn't pick up his socks. Or like he forgot to take out the garbage. Or, she has hair all over the sink and she sheds like a dog. And this is probably a
The
complaint
Fickett
of my
household.
Fickett household. I do shed like a dog. No, my problem is if anybody needs my DNA, just like follow me down the street. Really, it's crazy. But these are all like small things. And people say, well, after a while, it eats away and it eats away. Only if you let it.
Yeah.
Only if you focus on it, if you let it. You were talking about quotes, and I guess we have a couple here today, but one that just came to mind is Weight Watchers. They talk about like, don't give up what you want the most for what you want in the moment. And I think it has to do with like Little Debbie snack cakes. But I think when I use it, like if what you want the most is to stay together, don't give up that for, socks, or they didn't put the toilet seat down, or, there's hair all over the house, or
But
maybe she cooks like the Swedish chef, but maybe she's an excellent Italian cook. And so when you get aggravated that there's food and flour all over the place, maybe you should just be grateful that she made a delectable meal. Honey. Anyway.
No, but I think you brought up, there's that, but I think also in a relationship, people feel the need to be right. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times people will, again, sweat this little thing about, well, you actually said this,
Oh,
you
gosh.
know, and this, I mean, this is minutia, beyond minutia. So, and they'll go above and beyond, like attached to their ego because they need to be right. And would you rather be right or be happy?
Happy.
And when it comes to like things in relationship or work, in the scheme of things, you're better off just keep. And I'm not saying if someone tramples all over your morals, like just give it up. But,
No, you just punch him in the throat.
Ooh,
that was a negative thought.
but, if somebody's really like, going that far, down the path to like trample over your rights or morals, this obviously isn't someone you're probably married with or stuff. Usually the stuff that tears relationships apart. Like my whole thing is if you're fighting over who hangs the toilet paper wrong or the toothpaste, that's clearly there's a bigger underlying issue there, you
It's
know.
supposed to be over. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows that. Like, I don't. If you like it under, just stop. You're aggravating people. It's just stop it.
Yeah. Oh, so the thing I always said is when people argue about that, it's that their communication and sex are lacking if you're arguing over toothpaste. But it's like it's true because it's if you're sitting there picking apart these little dinky things, just be happy you have there's so many people that you have someone that comes home and is happy to see you. If you get mad that they're, whatever, they're on a phone when they walk in the door, then it might have been something important. They didn't say hello you in the first 10 seconds. I mean, this is crazy talk.
Yeah, it's small stuff.
Yeah.
This is just a random like rabbit hole that we just went down when we were talking about the toilet paper. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if you had like a brown marker, right? And if somebody keeps trying to change the toilet paper, you just write on the toilet paper in the brown marker. You know what brown I'm talking about. And you put like stop putting the toilet paper under in brown. They probably won't even touch the roll. I mean,
then you'll have a totally different mess.
Smeared brown mark. Okay, back to what we were talking about. This is what happens. My head goes down all these tangents, and I have to like focus. But it's true. Like all those little small things, they amount to big trouble.
Yeah.
And for what?
Yeah.
Like the goal or what you want to accomplish is not to be miserable. So I teach people that you have 80,000 thoughts in a day and 60,000 of them are negative. And so your goal is to try to make like 60,000 positive and save the other 20 for driving, 20,000. No, I mean, of course we're going to have some negative thoughts, but you can't, all these little things, if they're eating away at you, it's a bad habit. And I think that's what people should recognize. It's a habit you're in. So try to anytime you want to do a habit, you can do replacement. Sometimes people, instead of smoking, they chew gum, so they replace it with something else. For these little things that bother you, that irritate you, you can try and replace them with positive thoughts. Like you said, well, the tree fell on my house, but I'm so glad that now I don't have to clean up pine needles or things like that. And we had an episode about how to think more positively. But these small little things that add up, these are the people that my aunt passed away just recently at 103, and she like thought everything was wonderful. Like, oh my gosh, look at how blue the sky is today. Like, oh, this fish sandwich tastes excellent. And she didn't sweat anything. She said, I don't think I've ever seen her yell. She just said what she wanted to say, which was sometimes rude, to be honest, or direct. We'll say direct.
Yeah.
And then walk away. Like she didn't sweat it. She just said what was on her mind and then walked away. My mother, on the other hand, who's passed away just a couple of years ago, she was very negative about things like, oh, it's cloudy today, or it's hot today, or like always stressed, like very nervous and very stressed. And she was always sweating the small things. And I think it was detrimental to her health and her life. So it's not just, we're not having this topic just to talk about it, I think it's harmful.
Oh, yeah,
if
definitely.
all these little things like pile up and they're going to give you ulcers, they're going to give you anxiety, they're going to give you horrible things. But there's so many small things. Like it's hard for us, I think, to even talk about sweating the small stuff because I don't think either one of us really sweat the small stuff. And I don't sweat small people. So if somebody's insignificant, somebody that you don't, if you never saw them again, you wouldn't even care. Like a coworker or something, they say something mean to you or vile. Who cares? Who cares what they think? Like, why spend 2 seconds letting them live rent free in your head? It's like, okay, well, they're a miserable person and oh well.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just have to move on. I'm not saying be a doormat and not stand up for yourself, but
I
can't drink poison and expect the other person to die.
Yeah. That's another good quote. But I think another problem is the majority of stuff that people sweat and worry about is stuff that hasn't even happened. They're like, they're freaking out about something that could potentially happen, which to me makes no sense. Like, if it's not affecting your life now, like, it's crazy.
I have been afflicted by this condition.
Like,
sometimes.
and because I know people that are like this, and it not only is it affecting your health, but I mean, hate to break it to you, but you're not a nice person to be around. Like, these are the people that are trying to like get someone to, if you see me talking to so and so, call my cell, or yeah, I gotta get this, or I mean, but you want to escape those people where everything is like a negative, like, oh, I have a headache, maybe I have a tumor, like. Really?
Oh my
Maybe you just need to
goodness.
drink more water, like,
Maybe you're dehydrated.
but it's like, or like people will literally lie awake at night and they can't get sleep because they're freaking out about, oh, this is in their head and that's in their head. So I think the first thing to do, just write it down. You know what I mean? Like, if you're so worried about you're going to forget and think, just put it on a piece of paper, agree you'll target it first thing in your morning, and then just let your mind rest.
Ooh, maybe people can have a gratitude journal and next to it a grievance journal.
Yeah, that would be good, right? And then
And then burn those.
for every grievance you write down, you have to write like
In
at
the
least
gratitude.
three. So it's like a 3-to-1
There'll
ratio
be a
or
book
something.
coming out by Fickett Financial
Exactly.
shortly that you can buy on Amazon. You laugh. This will be like next week. I will put this together before this podcast even drops. That book will be out because I think that's a great idea. But it's true. Like, people have like all this stuff that's
Yeah.
just stuck in their head, like all this negative stuff that they're all worried about, stressed about. I'm gonna admit it, we're not perfect, right? Sometimes I worry about things, like I'm planning a vacation now, and so I'm like, oh, what if this and what if that, and it's not going to happen. It never happens the way I think it's going to happen. But I think it's inherent in our nature to always think of the negative things, the things that could go wrong, rather than all the positive things. People are always like, well, what if I do this and then this happens and then this happens? Okay, but what if you do that and these wonderful things happen? But we don't, I think it's like in our nature that we don't go to the wonderful things. We go to the other things. But there's so many small things, like, on a daily basis. I was just in, networking. I do networking a couple times a week. I own a networking company now. And I look around the room, and before this chatter, like, there's 15 minutes, people talking and everything. And sometimes you listen to the conversations, and people really do sweat like the smallest, minute things. Like, it worries them, it stresses them, like weather. I mean, we live in Florida, and if it rains, you would think it was a blizzard. It's like crazy. People, oh my gosh, it's going to be raining this weekend, and I planned on doing such and such and whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, the weather could change in 3 seconds. But it's that kind of, like, they're sweating it. It's small stuff. You have no control over it.
The other thing that I think helps.
I think maybe the government does have control over the weather, but
Yeah, different podcast.
different podcast.
But the other thing too, like, if there's something I know that is really on your mind and you're like, oh my God, you can't, then sometimes kind of doing the exact opposite, like go down the worst case scenario, like literally, because you're sitting there worrying about the minutia of, like, if this happens and this one says this and this happens and then this, you know what, just think the worst case scenario. Like, okay, I did this, I lost my house, I lose the job, this one dies, whatever. Okay, then what? Okay, then we'll have a funeral and move on. Or then I guess I'll do this, and maybe I could start, sometimes you have to go, like, literally head first down this mountain and realize even the worst case scenario isn't that terrible.
You might be a little desensitized to the funeral thing. Because, like, I don't think, like, we should go that far down. Like, we'll just have a funeral. We'll just bury them. Let's move on. Who cares?
No, but I mean,
that might be a little bit. I would
those,
sweat it.
But it's like, if they pass, okay, now they're with God and Jesus, and in the scheme of things, sometimes people get taken abruptly from our lives. So if the worst case scenario is they're with God and Jesus, okay, maybe
they're probably crying about us, honestly.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, poor Antoinette, she's got to be down there working.
Yeah.
No more work for me, hanging out with Jesus.
But that's what I mean. Like, sometimes if you just go, like, literally so crazy down the rabbit hole that you realize, or like, if it rains this weekend, okay, so all my guests get wet with rain, and then okay,
they go home early and I can do what I want to do.
Yeah. And then that movie that I just saw come out on Netflix, whatever. But I always think of the positive, but sometimes, like I said, people just, they'll just play out all these ridiculous scenarios. And the whole thing is, you know, if there's something you could do to affect it, like it's not just leave it up to chance. If there's something you could do and something's taking a trajectory you don't want, then do it. Because you actually being involved in how this may play out or the outcome will actually improve your mood, and you won't be so freaked out about this could happen or that. So
Why do you think people worry like so much? I've been thinking about it when we picked this topic. Like, why do people worry so much about these small little things? I know when I was in my 20s, like early 20s, I didn't worry about a thing. Like, you think you're invincible. And then you have kids and like, or for me, I had kids, and I think my life became a little bit more meaningful because now I have to like help these little things survive, boys and girls. Like, have to get them to
yeah, I'm not at that place
adult.
yet.
I have to help them survive. Well, maybe you have a plant. I don't know. Like,
I
it's
can't
just,
get a plant to survive. So hence,
Antoinette's still in the early 20s. But but like I think, and then I do worry about my children. It's probably like my largest worry in life is my children, and I try not to, but like I'm trying to think like what creates this overall worry for people sweating the small stuff. And I for me, and I want your take on it because we have different lives, and
yeah,
so that's what makes it interesting to talk to each other. But I think for me is I have things in my past, like my father dying when I was 14 in a car accident, that caused catastrophic thinking. And so I know that about myself. So I have to recognize that. And then I can be like, okay, like nothing's going to happen to my daughter going out in Miami. And, but I don't have any control over it. So the worrying is not going to change the situation.
yeah.
I do my best to prepare her, and I did a great job raising her, I think. And so like you just do your best and then leave it up to God's protection. I think, reading through the Bible and realizing that God protects, not just he's not just like Santa Claus making all your wishes come true when you pray. I think that's been big too, is like, give it to God, just give it to God. So for me, I just wonder if a lot of people are far away from God. And so now they're carrying all of the stress and the worry about the small things sometimes I can't fall asleep and I'm literally like, Jesus, can you please just help me here? I know you got 1,000 things to do that are probably way more important than this, but sleep is important to me. So can you just put me to sleep? And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
He put me to sleep. So I think maybe I couldn't figure out like why
I have
people are
like
doing. What's your theory?
I have like so many things to unpack with what you just said. So I think a couple things that you said. So one, I think people inherently want the best for people that they care about. You know what I mean? And the thing that's nerve-wracking is you have to let people live their own lives. So sometimes people make choices and do things that we may not agree with, but it's their lives. And that's kind of, I think, where people get that stress factor. I know every time like I leave the house, my mom's like, be careful. And if it's raining and she knows I'm going to be on a roof or something, but
It's such a silly thing to say. Like my kids leave and I'm like, drive safe. Like, what would be the alternative?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like,
be
like
careful.
Good thing you told me because I was
'Cause
just
I was
going to
just gonna-
drive recklessly.
I was going to leave all the windows down while it was pouring and put a lightning rod like on my car. Like some of the things that we say really are
Silly. So I think that's one thing. And I think another thing that I think people stress about that I think maybe more so, I don't know if it's more now or maybe it's more prolific now, is the need to be perfect. Like there are so many people lead these social media lives where everything that they post is look at my amazing daughter and look at this great thing at work. And they're not showing the thing where, I got really depressed and I just ate 5 pies, like that's not a Facebook moment.
And then you spent an hour on the toilet on Facebook.
And then you're like, why, so but that's what it is. So people put these like pristine lives and then, people feel the need to compare or whatever. And they're saying, so I think people have that where they're trying to be perfect. And then anytime something comes up, then they're worried about like, what my friends think, or what if this happens, or how am I going to recover from this? So I think that's a stress point that
Maybe. Yeah, they're trying to be perfect, afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is, I think ego driven to a certain extent because, you're trying to, be good or portray being good. Like no one wakes up and goes, real, I hope that people look at me like I'm a bad mom or I'm a crappy friend or, you know what I mean? And when things that happen get you even questioning that in your head, you're like, oh my God. And in the end, you got to realize like, there's been very few things in my life that happened that the people I really care about would really judge me in the way that I think they would. I mean, they're more likely to just want me to be happy and recover from whatever than worrying about like how I looked in the situation, you
Right.
know?
Well, lately, so my 11-year-old son is having a birthday. This is a true story. And,
Yeah,
don't judge, okay, over here. His birthday is in a week and I haven't bought him a thing. I know, I just don't know what to buy him, right? So I've been kind of stressing about it. And then I think to myself, like, what did I get on my 12th birthday? What did you get on your 12th birthday?
no idea.
No idea, right? No idea.
No one remembers.
No one remembers. So, like, I do stress about gift giving, especially for my boys. They're harder to buy for than the girls, whether it's Christmas or their birthday. And, like, I'm like, what am I going to get him? I want this day to be so special and whatever. He's not going to remember whatever I buy him.
Yeah.
Unless it's like something horrible, like fake poop or something. Like, I mean, he might remember that one, but then it would be something we'd laugh about and would be
Yeah.
funny. Like the time I bought him the book in Spanish, like couldn't read it. So that's like a small thing that we stress about. So that's like a tool for me is that I was stressing about it. What am I going to get him? And then I'm like, okay, what did I get at 12? I really don't remember.
Yeah.
So think to yourself, like if you start stressing about something like this, you can be like, okay, when I was that age, if you don't remember, they're not going to remember either. So I guess the most important thing is that his siblings are coming home from college and stuff for the weekend and to make it like fun and have a good cake and have a good time. And
Yeah.
that's how to make it memorable.
Yeah.
Hopefully I will find him
No,
something to buy him before
but
his birthday.
I think in the end, like people just want to feel loved. So whether it's through people or the situation, like of course any gift would make him feel loved. I mean, to a certain extent, but I think people mistake, when they're used gifts in place of, which I know isn't used. So it's one of those
There
that
may be no gifts.
no, but even like people that have relationships gone bad and, they forget why they were even arguing. Like they stopped talking to this person 20 years ago, but they can't even tell you what the reason was.
Oh, the reason
So,
was so stupid. My
yeah.
mother used to go food shopping with my aunt every Wednesday. My mother didn't drive. My aunt would come pick her up, and my aunt was a little Italian lady that sat on like a phone book. So cute. And one time my mother didn't feel well. It was like one of the only times. And she said she didn't want to go. And my aunt got mad and they never saw each other ever again. It's like Southern Italians, whatever.
Yeah.
They never saw each other ever again. And
Which
then
is
my aunt
crazy.
passed away of a heart attack like 15 years later. They had stopped going food shopping or whatever. That's like such a small thing. Like
Yeah.
you threw a whole relationship away because she couldn't go food shopping. Maybe there was more to it. I'm sure there was more to it. I'm sure they're hanging out
Yeah.
in heaven right now and having a good time. But it is true that like a lot of the things that we stress or we worry about, like the gift giving. I think gift giving is huge. People stress, what I want to get the perfect gift for a wedding. I want to get the perfect gift for Mother's Day. That's like,
Or even how to reply to like,
nobody's going to remember
yeah.
what it is. Or the fights.
Yeah.
Like why fight about picking up socks or why fight about something small? If you're gonna, have a relationship with somebody and you want to continue to have a relationship with somebody, just jump right to the good parts and jump over like all the bad parts.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any day of my life or any year actually that nothing bad's going to happen or no mistakes are going to be made. Like it's part of life.
Yeah.
So I think like when trying not to sweat the small stuff, really try and I guess use some of the things that we talked about and put things into perspective. Like, is this going to matter? A
Yeah.
week, a month, a year? Are people going to remember?
Yeah. And I think another thing that you say, we're going to have to like wrap this up.
I know.
But another thing that Laura's big on, which I think, I'll mention because I think it's such a good thing, is just come up with a mantra. Like if something's really bothering you, like we mentioned a couple silly sayings, but come up with your own. Like, is this going to matter in a day, a month, or a year? Or, you come up with whatever works for you to make yourself feel better about the situation so you can let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
That's like a new
Like,
movement, isn't it?
yeah,
Like the
like,
let it go movement or something going on. I don't know. Somebody just said it to me. I think it's after Frozen came out. Like let it go, let it
oh,
go.
I never saw that, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
But
saw it. It wasn't a bad movie, but
okay,
my
so
voice is spectacular, right?
better than mine, better than mine. So let's see. Next week we're going to be talking about
Takers.
that's it, takers, takers, takers. That's a good one. So good
Are you a
topic to
giver
tune.
or a taker? Tune in.
Yeah.
You might find out. You might be a taker.
Yeah. So, but until then, I guess never stop laughing.
And never stop learning. We'll see you next week.